Anyone can offer a hard workout. You can add more resistance, more reps, longer holds, faster transitions, less recovery. You can make almost any class more difficult. But what makes your class worth coming back for? For a long time, that was hard, has been treated like one of the highest compliments someone can give after a fitness class. A client walks out sweaty, exhausted, maybe already talking about how sore they're going to be tomorrow and says, "Wow, that was really hard." And it feels validating. You think, great, the class worked. They got what they came for. But the problem isn't that your client thought the class was hard. Your classes should challenge people. The problem is when hard is the only meaningful thing they experienced, because difficulty doesn't tell you that the class was valuable. It doesn't tell you that it was memorable, and it definitely doesn't tell you that the client wants to experience it again. The workout is the vehicle. The way your clients get to experience themselves through the workout is the real product. So in this video, we're going to talk about what "that was hard" might actually reveal about your class experience, what people really build loyalty towards, and how to design challenge so your clients don't merely leave feeling exhausted. They leave feeling stronger, more capable, seen, and surprised by what they were able to do. So how can we shift from someone walking out of your studio thinking, "that was really hard," to them walking out and thinking, "I did that, and I cannot wait to come back"? Hi, I'm Shay, co-founder of Fit Karma, where we help fitness studio owners and entrepreneurs build a brand that moves people, a brand people choose beyond the workout. My husband Barry and I have helped build some of the most iconic fitness brands around the world, him on the brand strategy side and me on the experience design side, helping studios clarify their brand architecture and bring it into life through the experiences they create. Because the brands people stay loyal to don't just offer classes, they architect journeys for their clients to experience real transformation. So let's start with what "that was hard" might actually be telling you. When someone leaves your class and the most memorable part of the experience was how difficult it felt, that's not an automatic win. Your client may have completed every exercise. They may have followed every instruction. They may have pushed through every challenge. They may even be sore the next morning. But none of that necessarily means the class gave them something that they want to experience again. It doesn't necessarily mean that they felt powerful. It doesn't mean they felt proud. It doesn't mean that they felt more connected to themselves or like they even belong in your space. And it doesn't mean that they left thinking, "I cannot wait to feel that way again." It may simply mean they were extremely aware of how much physical and mental effort it took to get through the workout. A class can be hard and still fall emotionally flat. It can be physically demanding and still be forgettable, just another workout. It can happen in a beautiful room, on high-end equipment, with great lighting, impressive programming, an amazing playlist, perfectly cued exercises, and a great instructor. And they can still feel nothing more than a sequence of difficult tasks strung together. The client may have survived the workout, but did the experience change anything about how they saw themselves? That's where the real magic happens, because the most valuable classes don't simply prove that the workout was difficult. They help the client discover how capable they are. There's also a business strategy problem with building your value around the difficulty of your modality, because there will always be another hard workout. There will always be another studio, instructor, app, method, machine, or fitness trend promising something harder, faster, more intense, more advanced, or more effective. If difficulty is the primary value your brand offers, your business becomes very easy to compare. Who burns more calories? Who uses heavier weights? Who has the harder reformer class or the most interesting, complicated sequences? Who makes people sweat more? Who leaves people the most sore? And when your brand is easy to compare, it becomes easy to replace, because difficulty is not distinctive. Anyone can add another set. Anyone can extend the hold. Anyone can turn up the resistance or remove the recovery. Challenge matters, yes. But challenge is the baseline. It can't be the entire product. The workout is the vehicle. The way people experience themselves Inside that workout is what makes your brand meaningful. People don't become loyal to your brand simply because the workout was hard. They come back because of how the workout made them feel about themselves. For 1 hour, they felt stronger than they did when they walked in. They felt more capable, more focused, more grounded, more powerful, more alive, more at peace with themselves. Maybe they surprised themselves. Maybe they stayed with something they normally would have quit. Maybe they stopped thinking about work, their responsibilities, their body, or everything happening outside of the room. Maybe they felt like themselves again. Maybe they felt closer to the person they're trying to become. That is what people return to. Not just the exercises, not just the equipment or the beautiful space, the choreography, not just the fact that they were sore the next day. They return to the version of themselves they get to be and experience in your space. This is the shift I want you to understand. If you believe people are coming to you for a workout, you'll design a workout. But when you understand that people are actually coming to you because of who they get to become through the experience you provide, you begin designing something much more powerful. You start to think beyond the workout itself, and you start designing a brand experience. So how do you challenge people without making the entire experience feel like something they're simply trying to survive? This is where flow becomes a part of your brand strategy. Flow happens when the challenge meets someone at the right edge of their ability. If the challenge is too low, they become bored or disconnected. If the challenge is far beyond what they're equipped to handle, they become overwhelmed. Their fight or flight mechanism turns on. Their attention narrows around discomfort, confusion, fear, or failure. But when the work is demanding and still feels possible, something different happens. The client has to focus, but they also feel supported enough to stay with it. They also stop thinking about every rep, every second, and every uncomfortable sensation. They become absorbed. They become present. They're no longer standing outside the experience, measuring how difficult it is. They're inside of it. And that's when the meaning of the challenge begins to change. Without flow, the client remembers the difficulty, but with flow, the client remembers what the difficulty revealed about themselves. The story they tell themselves about your brand is no longer, that's a really hard workout. It becomes, I did something really cool. And then I'm someone who can do hard things. That's a completely different experience. Your client may still be working incredibly hard, but afterward, the most powerful thing they remember is not the resistance or the reps or the discomfort. They remember that they stayed with it. They remembered that this was something that's achievable, something they could be good at. They remember that they surprised themselves. And they remember feeling strong, and they remember realizing that even for a moment, they were capable of more than they ever thought. And that's the story people come back for. At Fit Karma, this is where we begin with our clients. Before we talk about programming, class formats, music, coaching, cueing, transitions, or instructor development, we have to understand the deeper promise that your brand is meant to make. How are your clients feeling when they walk in your doors? What are they tired of feeling? What are they hoping to feel instead? And what version of themselves are they hoping your experience helps them access? Because once that promise becomes clear, your classes have to be intentionally designed to deliver that. If your brand promises confidence, the class should give people opportunities to feel confident. If your brand promise is empowerment, the experience should help people feel ownership over their bodies, their choices, and their progress. If your brand promises release, the class should help people move through tension and experience what it feels like to let something go. If your brand promises joy, the experience should create moments of play, connection, freedom, and collective energy. And if your brand promises transformation, the client should feel that they cross some kind of internal threshold by the time they leave. They should know that something changed. This is what class experience design is really about. It's not simply choosing the coolest exercises or the most effective exercises. It's not just about making a playlist that takes them on a journey. It's not giving an instructor a class outline and hoping their personality creates the rest. It's designing the conditions that make the promised feeling more likely to happen again and again. your programming, coaching, cueing, music, pacing, transitions, your motivation style, instructor presence, and room energy should all be working towards the same emotional outcome, because your class is the place where your brand promise either becomes real or it doesn't. There are a lot of studios out there that have a beautiful room, strong instructors, solid programming, and genuinely challenging classes. But the way the client is supposed to feel is still being left up to chance. It depends on whether the instructor happens to be especially charismatic that day, whether the playlist happens to hit just right, whether the sequence is well designed, and whether the coach happens to say the right thing at the right time. A lot hinges on whether or not the client manages to connect all the dots on their own. That's not a strategy. That's hope. And hope is not how you create a consistent client experience. You have to define what the experience is meant to be and then design backward from the outcome. What should the beginning of the class help someone feel? How should the energy build? Where does the client begin to trust themselves? Where are they invited into a meaningful challenge? And how does that happen? How are they supported through it? What is the breakthrough moment? How should they feel as the experience comes to an end? A powerful class doesn't need to manipulate people into feeling something. We don't need to tell them how to feel, but it should create the conditions in which the meaningful emotional experience can happen. It should give people the opportunity to encounter themselves a little differently. This is also why the entire weight of the experience cannot be placed solely on the instructor. Yes, the instructor matters a lot. They are directing attention. They are shaping energy. They're translating the promise of your brand into something tangible that the client can actually experience. But when the system around them is unclear and they're being asked to create magic without a map, if your brand has not defined the feeling that you're trying to create and you haven't communicated that to your team, the instructor has to guess. They have to make it up. And if the format has not been built around a clear emotional journey, the instructor is going to improvise or come up with their own ideas. And if the coaching language is not connected to the deeper promise of the brand, even a technically efficient class can feel disconnected. And when every instructor is inventing their own experience from scratch, there is no reliable way to create consistency. So the answer is not to remove the instructor's personality or take away their creativity. It's not to script every workout line by line or make every class feel identical. A strong framework gives instructors something to create within. It helps them understand how the client is meant to feel and how their programming, language, music, pacing, and presence can support the outcome. That's how you protect the experience without flattening the people who are delivering it. That's how a great class becomes more than an isolated moment of a singular instructor's magic. It becomes part of the brand. So instead of only listening for, "that was hard," start listening for feedback that tells you your client experienced something meaningful about themselves. "I felt so strong today. I cannot believe I did that. I really needed this class. I wasn't going to show up today, but I am so glad I did. I forgot about everything for 1 hour. I almost gave up, but I stayed with it. I feel so seen. I feel more grounded than when I came in today. I feel like myself again." Those kinds of statements tell you something much more valuable than the fact that the workout was difficult or that your members are going to be sore the next day. They tell you that your class gave the client an experience they want to return to. And when that experience is aligned with the deeper promise of your brand, your studio becomes much harder to compare and much, much harder to replace. Another studio can copy your exercise sequence. They can buy the same equipment. They can use similar class names. They can recreate parts of your aesthetic. They can even copy your general structure of programming. But it is much harder to copy the way your brand makes people feel when every part of the experience has been intentionally curated and designed to support a specific outcome. So yes, your classes should be challenging. Challenge is what helps people grow. It asks them to move beyond what already feels familiar. It gives them the opportunity to discover something new about themselves, their strength, their focus, their courage, and their capacity. So yes, your classes should be challenging. Challenge helps people grow. It asks them to move beyond what already feels familiar. It gives them the opportunity to discover something new about their strength, their focus, their courage, and their capacity. But the challenge is the vehicle. The way your clients experience themselves through that challenge is your product. So the next time that somebody walks out one of your classes and says, "That was hard," don't assume that it did everything that it was supposed to do. Get curious about what happened underneath the difficulty. Did the experience help them feel stronger? Did it help them build trust within themselves? Did it help them feel proud, powerful, grounded, connected, or alive? Did the challenge reveal something to them about who they are and what they're capable of? Because a hard workout might make someone sore, but a thoughtfully designed experience can change the way someone sees themselves. And that is what makes them want to come back. Not because they're chasing discomfort, not because they believe the hardest workout must be the best workout, but because something happened in the room that they want to experience over and over again. They didn't simply think, "That was a hard workout." They thought, "I did that. I feel strong. I surprised myself. I am so capable of so much more than I realized. And maybe even, I feel like the person I want to become." That is what we help fitness business brands create at Fit Karma. We help studio owners clarify the transformation their brand is promising, define the emotional journey their clients are on, and intentionally design the class experience, programming, instructor training development, music coaching, and delivery systems that make that promise real. So your clients don't just take a class at your studio. They experience something. They remember it. It becomes a part of their identity, and they want to come back. If you're realizing that your classes are challenging, but you're not completely sure what your clients are meant to experience through that challenge, follow the link in the description to book a free fit call with us. We would love to learn more about you, your studio, the experience you want to create, and how we can support you in taking one step beyond offering hard workouts and building a brand that moves people. If this video resonated with you, please leave a comment below. You are our people. And don't forget to hit subscribe for more brand strategy and experience design insights just like this.